Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Audric Cashmere. As you are no doubt aware, we are now entering week 2 of the Khajiit occupation of the bridges of Moonhaven Falls, and it would appear that Igneous has taken notice. And unfortunately, not in a way that any of us find particularly useful. We take you now to Morwen Brightseen on the spot. Good morning, Moonhaven Falls. While we, down here on the island, are busy dodging Khajiit lawyers and leaping off bridges, our neighbour in the mountains, the dragon Igneous, has been watching, and his response is still echoing in the air around us, but according to my sources, who are currently hyperventilating in the station break room, his mood can best be described as critically amused. Reports from the Mountain Trail Scouts seem to indicate that Igneous has spent the better part of the morning perched on the highest spire of the Dragonspine Mountains, peering down at the bridge checkpoints through a looking glass the size of a wagon wheel. Eyewitnesses say that he is in fact not angry at the blockade, but rather fascinated by the sheer audacity of the Law clan. However, that fascination took a very sharp turn when a group of council messengers attempted to hike up to his lair to ask for his intervention regarding the bridge's legal status. Apparently, the messengers didn't even make it halfway up before Igneous reportedly let out a puff of smoke that smelled suspiciously like burnt parchment and issued a verbal decree that has the town hall in a state of absolute shivering panic. He stated, and I quote, "If one more person brings me a petition for grievance or asks me to sign a declaration of intent, I will solve your transit crisis by melting both bridges to slag. No bridges, no checkpoints. No checkpoints, no paperwork. Do not involve me in your civilized squabbles, or I shall simplify your geography permanently." But of course, in true draconic fashion, Igneous seems to have been inspired by the Khajiit's love for fine print. Rather than just burning the lawyers, he has apparently decided to beat them at their own game. He has officially updated the Igneous Gauntlet with a brand new trial for any adventurer brave or foolish enough to visit the mountains today. It is apparently being called the Trial of the Fine Print. Our scouts describe a chamber within the gauntlet filled with thousands of floating, glowing magical contracts. These are not combat challenges, folks. There are no traps, no fire-breathing statues, only grammar. Adventurers must find and sign a single contract within the room. They, of course, will need to look out for contracts containing hidden clauses in a sea of legal jargon that allows them to be rewarded when they exit the chamber without forfeiting their gear, their gold, or even their boots to the dragon's hoard due to a technicality. Igneous has reportedly been seen sitting in the corner of the trial chamber, wearing a monocle the size of a dinner plate and holding a rather massive quill, while looking remarkably pleased with himself. He is, however, offering a pardon of the dragon to anyone who succeeds. This is supposedly a legal document so powerful that it makes even Lit.I.G.A.T.E's raptor-like lawyers faint on sight. So, if you're tired of the bridges and think you have a better eye for detail than a Khajiit judge, the gauntlet is open, just for the love of the falls. Don't bring him any town paperwork. Apparently, he's got charcoal enough already. Back to you, Audric. Thank you, Morwen, and we go now to a special interview here in the station. Gary, Captain Vancroft, thank you so much for making time to speak with us today, especially after the highly unusual events of this last week, as well as the craziness with the Lit.I.G.A.T.E branch over the course of the last several days. Captain Vancroft, can you confirm the situation is fully resolved with the Gnomes?
The situation is resolved, yes. All mobilized lawn ornaments are now safely immobilized again, back to their original state, which is to say, clay. We have established a secure collection point where the few remaining owners may pick up their property, and most have done so at this point. As for the one responsible for ending the repeated annoyance, well, I'll turn the crystal over to Gary.
Gary, your arrival was reported to be moments before the Wizarding Gnome's apparent escape. Can you describe what happened from your perspective?
Well, perspective is the key, isn't it? What most people saw was an escalating prank. What I saw was a convergence of low-level magic being manipulated by something that is more. I have been anticipating this, or something like it, for the last several weeks.
Anticipating? How so?
The visions in the park, of course. For over a century now, I have had intermittent glimpses, brief, terrifying flashes, of a future where the entire nation was governed by tiny, conical-hatted tyrants. Gnomish world domination, you could call it, I suppose. I had thought that I was imagining things after the dragon incident, but when the first reports came in about the fountain gathering, I knew my preparations had to be finalized.
You have been preparing for a gnome uprising.
Technically, I was actually preparing a counterspell, a mass dispel enchantment, carefully calibrated to suppress any awakened inanimate earth golem. It is a very niche branch of the restorative field magic. When I entered the barracks and saw the collective repositioning when not observed, all those little stone eyes locked on the glass case, I knew that it was go time, and so I cast the spell.
And it worked perfectly? All of the gnomes stopped.
The spell worked on the collective. Every standard garden gnome in that barracks became inert and ready for pickup once again. However, the wizarding gnome is where the real problem lies.
Now, he was the target of the jailbreak and appears to have vanished. Captain Vancroft did mention 3 possibilities: escape, vanishing via your spell, or retrieval.
It is none of the above. The root cause is this: the wizarding gnome is not a garden gnome.
Excuse me?
The energies radiating from that particular figure, the way it could animate and command the others, the level of intelligence it exhibited, it is not a simple ceramic object imbued with errant energy. It is a vassal of something else. There is a consciousness, a very powerful entity of some type trapped within that gnome body.
Gary is working with us to analyze the magical residue. What he is saying does fit the inexplicable movements that we observed.
So the other gnomes were trying to free the being trapped inside the wizarding figure?
Sort of. The collective effort of 100 gnomes was enough to rupture the container, the glass box in this case. They wanted to release him, but I do not know what he is, or what his plans were, or are, for that matter.
And what happened next?
I think my stasis spell hit the escaping entity directly. The effect, though, was unexpected. It did not stop it in place. It caused a final, complete displacement. The wizarding gnome appeared to just vanish. Upon closer inspection, the glass box was cracked, however, and it is quite possible that the gnome used a dimension door out of the barracks when it saw a chance to escape during the blinding light caused from the powerful spell being used.
Are you saying this being is now loose, or possibly shifted to another plane of existence?
All I can say right now is that it is no longer contained. I am dedicating a number of resources to researching the displacement field and charting where it may have gone. However, I need to understand the true nature of what exactly was trapped in that garden gnome before I can determine what its next move is likely to be.
So do we need to worry about this happening again?
Not with these particular gnomes, no. The spell I used will keep them from being animated again for several years at the minimum.
I see. A final question for Captain Vancroft, then. What is the immediate plan now that the situation has escalated from property theft to dimensional displacement?
We are advising all residents to finish the retrieval of their inert gnomes promptly. The guard barracks will be reviewing its security protocols for the handling of magical artifacts. As for the longer term, we are officially partnering with Gary. Until we know what precisely was freed, we will simply have to assume that this case is not yet over. Unfortunately, however, Litigate still has our priority. I see. Captain? Gary? Thank you for your time. This is Audric Cashmere with the Crystal Network. Good afternoon to you, my dignitaries and entourage. Greetings to the shopkeepers, the traveling folk, and a jaunty salute to the fishermen, the hunters, and the citizens from all walks of life here in the Lost Realms. Welcome back to Crossroad Chronicles, where we explore the resilience of the human spirit in the face of the truly bizarre. Tonight, we have a tale of loss, an unlikely partnership, and a rather unexpected approach to healing. We are here speaking with a local farmer who has seen his livelihood swallowed by the inexplicable, and who is now forging a new path with a business partner that raises more than a few local eyebrows. You may remember him from the undead incident last year, but we are here speaking with Digby Greenwell about his remarkable story and his newest occupation. Digby, we are here in what used to be the fertile fields of the Greenwell farm. Now, however, an eerie stillness hangs in the air. The once familiar landscape seems to have been twisted into strange and unnatural formations and is still shrouded in a persistent, low-hanging, pale mist. Amidst all of this unsettling scenery, we find you, a man who has weathered more than just the changing of the seasons. Digby, thank you for meeting me here. It must be incredibly difficult to be back on what was once your land.
Oh, aye, it ain't easy, friend. One day plump tomatoes and happy pigs. The next day, this fog-choked nonsense. Swallowed the whole darn farm, it did. Rearranged the hills like a child's plaything. Still can't rightly make sense of it. No clue as to where my farm went to. Thought I was dreaming originally, when it seemed the farm were getting smaller and smaller. All I have left now is the farm site itself, though. But the neighbors do assure me it did in fact exist. But it sure don't no more.
You mentioned the strange mist. Do you have any idea yet what has caused it?
Well, the local wise woman had no clue at all, and when I reached out to the Mages College, I got a bunch of young whippersnappers wandering about for a couple of days, mumbling about planar rifts and misaligned ley lines. I don't know, sounded like goblin gibberish to me. Luckily, it stopped happening around then. But then, of course, there's Gary.
I'm sorry, Gary?
Yeah, Gary. You should know about him. Lives over in the Whispering Caves. Been around longer than the town. Folks around here like to whisper that he's a lich, spooky fella, all bones and glowy eyes, but I got a hunch he's really something else. Bit clumsy for a proper lich. Always losing his phylactery. Different one every week, or so the rumor goes. Real good with the local kids, though. Heh, and didn't that raise a fuss? Anyway, Gary, he's my new partner.
Your partner? A suspected undead. In what venture exactly?
Sturge farming.
Sturge farming? As in the flying, blood-sucking creatures that usually plague adventurers?
Yeah, the very same. You see, after the mist took my farm, I was at my wit's end. And then I done run into Gary, or rather, he sort of shambled into my path. He was mumbling about needing a reliable source of, well, let's just say ingredients. And I was thinking about all the folk around here that was getting sick with the creeping rot and the shiver shakes and such.
And you saw a connection between sturges and these diseases?
Well, Gary, surprisingly, is quite knowledgeable in certain unconventional fields. He reckons the natural filtration process of the sturge's feeding might actually hold the key to drawing out impurities in the blood. Sort of a leech therapy type of thing, if you will, but with sturges.
So you're proposing to use sturges to cure diseases?
Well, we're in the early stages, mind you. Gary's been helping me build specialized containment chambers. Surprisingly good with stonework for a, well, whatever he is. However, we are selectively breeding the sturges, trying to cultivate certain strains and traits that are less, enthusiastically hungry, and perhaps even produce certain beneficial enzymes in their saliva.
Selectively breeding sturges. That sounds like a fairly dangerous undertaking.
Oh, it has its moments. Almost lost a few fingers. Gary's had to reattach his jaw a couple of times after a particularly feisty hatchling took a liking to it, but we're making progress. We've even had a few volunteers even. Old man Hemlock down the road there, he had a nasty case of swamp fever. We applied a carefully controlled number of our therapeutic compounds. He said he felt a bit lightheaded, you see, but the fever broke within the day. Lightheaded seems like it might be an understatement. But you believe this Sturge therapy has potential? Oh, Gary's convinced, and he's got centuries of, well, let's call it experience, to draw upon. He's even developed a special calming pheromone that keeps the sturges docile during treatment. It smells a bit like the local herbalist, but it does seem to do the trick. I see. And what's your role in all of this, Digby? Going from farming turnips to farming sturges is quite a leap. Well, I mean, someone's got to do the work. Gary ain't exactly young and spry anymore, you know. Mostly he just offers insightful commentary and occasionally grabs one of the experimental subjects for study. I, of course, handle the feeding, the cleaning, and the poultice mixing, and, of course, the application of the sturge extracts to the patient. It's honest work, not so different from handling the hogs, to be honest with you. What has been the reaction of the local community to your new venture? I imagine sturge farm isn't exactly a comforting phrase. Well, no, they're wary. Understandably so. Lots of worried glances at my shed when they come over to voice their concerns, but when old man Hemlock started walking around again without looking like he was about to cough up a lung or tip over dead, well, a few folks started asking different kinds of questions. Desperate times, you know. And Gary, well, he's got a certain persuasive charm, especially when he offers a discount on initial consultation fees, usually just a pint of beer and a tall tale. I don't think he actually drinks the beer, though. A pint of beer that he doesn't drink for a consultation with a presumed lich about sturge product therapy. Well, this is certainly unique. What are your hopes for the future of the Greenwell Sturge Farms? Well, I like to see folk getting better. This mist, it's brought more than just wonky hills, you know. There's a sickness in the air now. Washes a feller right out if you spend too long out in it. If our little bloodsuckers can help, well, maybe something good can come out of all this mess. And maybe, just maybe, I can earn back enough to buy some more land, or even hire a mage to help me get back what I lost. Well, that is a remarkable story of adaptation and an incredibly unconventional partnership. Digby Greenwell, thank you so much for sharing your extraordinary Crossroads Chronicles tale with us, and we wish you the best luck in your sturgis endeavors. Well, thank you, friend. Just try not to swat anything buzzing around here, right? They're probably just looking for a snack, but you never know. Right. Well, that was Digby Greenwell, a farmer who lost everything to the strange mist last year, but has apparently found a new, albeit somewhat dangerous, purpose, with the unlikely assistance of our most colorful local. You're listening to the Moonhaven Falls Crystal Network. Hey, Timmy, do you smell something burning? It's not my coffee, is it?
No, it's not your precious lifeblood.
Then where is it coming from?
Oh, here it is. It's tucked in this potted plant.
The plant is burning.
No! It's the newest letter from Lady F, and it smells like victory and slightly singed leaves.
The potted plant? How? After the dragons, we put up words to... Well, let's see what news my favorite correspondent has for my intern this time. To Timmy, my favorite interviewer, my connection to the free world. From Lady F, soon to be Moonhaven bound. Date, the first day of my true adulthood. Dearest Timmy, it's over. The high-stakes family confrontation that you provided the soundtrack for has concluded. And guess what? We won! You might recall I was convinced your research was wrong about my family's estate being in ruin. Well, when Azur and I flew in, it was standing. All polished marble and manicured lawns, just like I remembered. But by the time we left, well, the ruins part became quite accurate. I'm sure you were looking at a different property than my father's estate, though. My father was not willing to listen to reason, unfortunately. Upon seeing Azur and me, he flew into a rage about my disobedience and ruining my market value, and immediately called on his estate wizards and a legion of guard to subdue Azur, and to replace her with some dreary, loyal dragon. Yeah, he expected a quick removal. What he got was a battle. Timmy, his mistake was in not knowing what I'd been doing the last couple of months. I only found those dusty books useful recently, and with nothing better to do, I've gotten quite good at it. So I joined Azur in the fight. I thought I was pretty good at defensive spells, but this was my chance to finally test my offensive ones. I found I was actually pretty skilled at offensive magic. Even managed to turn one of his top-hatted wizards into a moderately attractive garden gnome. When the smoke cleared, the estate was in ruins, his guards were defeated, and my father, well, he was gone. He seems to have fled the scene rather than face my righteous elven fury. But the important thing is that my freedom is now secured. Azur is the best mother a girl could ask for. She is slightly worried about the etiquette of asking directions to a Crystal Networks headquarters. We're going to start heading toward where I think Moonhaven Falls is. Might take us a while to get there, though, as Azur insists on taking the scenic route. I'll let you know when we're close. Until then, thank you, Timmy. You were the vital spark I needed, and I owe you a proper, in-person interview. No dusty parchment required. With eternal gratitude, Lady F, soon to be the newest local resident. Well, listeners, did you hear that? Victory! Freedom! The power ballads worked! And Timmy, forget that next interview. We're getting a local celebrity instead. The Dragon Rider is headed straight for Moonhaven Falls.
She's a prodigy. She fought off trained wizards after a few months of study. And she's coming here. I'll start tracking local news reports or large, majestic, yet slow-moving creatures. I'm also putting an order for a fireproof carpet for the studio. I wonder what Igneous will think of having a new dragon in the area.
No, don't track her, Timmy. Prepare! We need a welcoming committee. We need promotional banners. We need a theme song that is not just power ballad.
Yes, sir! New theme song. And I'll book that interview. After all, she wrote to her favorite intern first.
Yeah. Well, this is a new era, listeners. The saga appears to be over, but the legend is just beginning. So, stay tuned to see if Timmy can land that interview. Timmy, I told you, no interruptions when I'm
sorry to interrupt, but I believe this parcel is long overdue. You see, I've been waiting nearly 100 years for you to finally receive this letter.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes our episode for the week. We release a new episode every Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern, and I do hope that you found this podcast a bit droll, a little riveting, and perhaps even a little bit enchanting. If you did, I would appreciate it if you could just take a moment to rate this podcast, maybe share it with a friend or a community, as well as stopping by our Facebook or Patreon page to let me know what your favorite segment is. If you haven't already, I would also request that you subscribe to the channel or follow the podcast. It's a simple, easy action that lets the algorithm know that you listen to and want to continue hearing these stories. For anyone who wishes to directly invest in the future of our work, do please explore the community on Patreon. I personally write, edit, and produce all the content for this show, with the occasional guest appearance from my wife and children. If you want to buy me a cup of coffee per month, or Timmy a cup of cocoa, as encouragement to continue creating this, we gratefully accept. Thank you to all of our supporters, especially the increasing number of you who have reached out to tell me your favorite segments. My family and I genuinely appreciate all of the support you guys are showing us by tuning in every week, and we would like to thank you for continuing to do so. I look forward to seeing you in the comments, and I hope you tune in again next week.